My name is Danny Dewsbury. For the past year, I've been trying to break into the media industry. I've been living on this office floor for about 2 months now. I work part-time, in exchange for which I don't have to pay any rent. It was in August 2006 when I was offered a job by the Labour Party. I would be meeting 6 different MPs from around the country and filming videos to be shown at Labour's showpiece event, the National Party Conference. In the beginning, I was naive, like everyone else, I guess. I never knew about the rules or the laws that prevent people like me from being exploited. My only concern was getting into the career I loved. I thought the Labour job was this opportunity. It was during this time I learned a lot about how this industry takes care of people like me. Exploitation is rife. Young, talented people are moving out of the media world and into one which pays them the money they deserve. Only the most determined people persist. I class myself as one of those few. Okay, so basically this is like the first week of me... I've been making a video diary myself over the past year. I thought it might be interesting to look back over my year once I'd edited it all together. Little did I know, it was the footage that I was about to capture that would make national news headlines. There was the job that I applied for last week for the Labour Party, and they got back to me today and said basically they want to give it to me. I never really realised like what the job like entailed. I didn't really look into it, and it's going to be filming 4 or 5 ministers or something like that. And I'm going to be going around the country just filming them during the day and doing what they do. And at the end of the day, it is only just like a work experience, but that was one of my main concerns really when applying for the job, because I've got this other job now, and I talked to my boss today and he said it should be fine. He said go for it. So big news, hopefully by next week I'll be drinking tea with Tony Blair and inside the Houses of Parliament, and yeah, things will finally start kicking up for me. Sweet.
Well, we've got an industry here, film and television industry, the entertainment industry, which is perceived as being very glamorous, very sexy, you know, an industry where a lot of young people want to make a career in it.
Okay, so we're about 5 minutes away from meeting John Woodcock, who's the special advisor for the MP that we're going to be meeting. I don't really know what to expect.
I mean, frankly, it's just, it's like the Wild West out there, you know, it's sink or swim. There are real opportunities here for abuse by the worst employers. And the form that's taken over quite a few years now is that it's become accepted practice that to get started in this industry you have to work for nothing. And it's actually become almost just seen as being the way the world is.
Hi John, this is Daniel. We're doing filming for you today, and just wondering if you could get back to us ASAP. Thanks a lot, bye. No, it looks like it might be one of those days again.
We hear it regularly, that young people are volunteering, they're just volunteers, or they're just on work experience, that's the other phrase that gets used, and so the employer says, we don't need to pay them, you know, they're not really working.
You've been setting all this up pretty early, yeah?
Yeah, well, the department has.
We just met John Woodcock. I mean, I don't know what you think about him, but didn't even look at us really, did he? You know what I mean?
Has Emmett said to you no expenses? Yeah. That's extraordinary.
I'm John Hutton. I'm the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions.
And what are you here to do today?
Well, we're here today to listen to the voices of young people. We've got to respect the voices of young people, and we've got to try and reflect as far as we can the views and thoughts that young people themselves have.
That's why we're here today, to really say that we have got a say and we need to do something about it.
Brilliant. Well, I'm really glad you're here, and you have got a voice, and we should hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay.
He's paid us absolutely no respect. He hasn't even said like I really appreciate it or anything like that. Okay, I just spoke to the Labour Party guy about release forms. We saw how many people we were filming today. I mean, how many people were there?
I don't know, 25 kids?
25 kids. Okay, so I brought a load of release forms. They've all been signed and stuff like that, and we got that signed beforehand. But we only found out about this like pretty much 8, 9 o'clock last night. So it's like, how the hell are we supposed to know how many kids are going to be here? I mean, fair enough. I mean, you could say should have got loads of release forms and stuff like that. The fact is, look at us. We're like all tied up in terms of I'm doing sound, you're doing camera and things like that. No one else is trying to help us out or, you know, get things sorted out for us and stuff. Mate, And what can you do, man? You know what I mean? What can you friggin' do? But yeah, we'll just have to deal with it like that. See what happens.
For the the political party that makes all this noise about founding the national minimum wage in the first place, but they don't seem to be terribly interested in young media workers. They're much more interested in workers in Tesco's or Asda or wherever.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Benjamin, your customer service assistant at the shop today. I'd like to welcome passengers that joined us at Watford Junction. For the benefit
My next trip was to Tesco in Salford, Manchester, to meet the chair of the Labour Party and the person who had instigated the project I was working on, Hazel Blears.
Yeah.
50.
Right. Do you want to take yours down first?
What was the reason for doing something like this with the videos and stuff?
Well, I thought after 9 years in government, there's always a risk that people get out of touch, and perhaps the public thinks that we don't understand how difficult life is for hard-working families out there.
How did you go about organising a project like this?
It's been a bit of a marathon trying to organise it, but I've had so much support from all my cabinet colleagues, and they've gone out and done a whole range of different things. Just the fact that you've come along to film it has been an incredible help for us, because I think it helps it bring it alive to people. You know, that ministers and MPs, we're not kind of remote figures, you know, in Westminster, completely removed from people, but we live in communities, we've got families, and we understand genuinely the issues that people are struggling with. It's always the same, isn't it? You just sit down ready to work and suddenly there's no customers at all. Now every member of staff assures me that they usually run off their feet, and I'm sure they're right, but for me, you know, I'm just must not be popular.
What the law says is that if you're a worker, you must be paid unless there are certain specific exclusions that apply. Now, you're a worker, crudely, if you're carrying out tasks on behalf of somebody else which are for the benefit of that other person, and certainly if they're part of their business, then they are an employer and you're a worker. You must be paid that hourly rate at least for the work that you do.
Well, I think I've probably done enough filming for now, and I know I've got a whole range of shelves to go and stock up with some of the Christmas special offers. So I think I'd better stop this more or less right now and get on back to my work. So see you soon. Bye.
We were off to go and see Hilary Armstrong, who's the ex-chief whip of the Labour Party. For a person like me, who's got 2 jobs, and I have to organise that, you know, and it's just like, I really want to make it into media, so I'd do anything to get there. But when it means risking my other job, and a job which actually pays me money, then it's like really puts me in an awkward position.
We never boast enough about the things that have happened, but the minimum wage was in the very first Labour manifesto 100 years ago.
It should not have anything to do with what kind of financial resources you have or your parents have or your mates have, whether you are able to take those first steps.
What we've done now is bring in the minimum wage in order to say work pays. We are determined that we will get more people being able to be independent.
We end up with a bunch of hooray Henrys who've got, whose mummies and daddies have got plenty of money to see them through the first years. We have a very distorted, we would end up with a very distorted media, and we don't want that. It's too important.
I just asked Hilary about the Labour Party in terms of how proud it is of the minimum wage, and she said to me that it's like one of Labour's proudest things. All I wanted to do at the point was just tell her about us and the fact that we're not volunteers, we're actually doing work here. But as I say, I didn't feel it appropriate. She, I don't think she'd understand what we've gone through today just to get here to do all this work. But I know that I've been under an immense amount of pressure. I mean, what you don't see is that this past week I've been getting phone calls more and more about the editing and facilities and stuff. As I say, for us both, this is a full-time job for us both. I went to see Emmett Regan, the person who had originally hired me. I wanted to question him about my payment for my expenses and my responsibilities, which I seemed to be acquiring.
I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of responsibility in it because I've been tasked, and therefore you've been tasked by default to deliver this project. If we don't deliver it, then huge questions will be asked, I guess. You get, access to the highest level of government to film. You get to create your own story, basically, of 5 different versions of that. They get seen by 20,000 people in the hall and 10 to 15 million people on TV when they get shown live. So
the first thing was just to do with money, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably where we're at, really. I mean, we can pay for one person's travel and then probably a small stipend.
Right, so I've just come out of a meeting with Emmett Regan of the Labour Party, and to be honest with you, I'm more confused than ever. I mean, this was supposed to be a work experience position, and so far no one from the media industry has taught me anything so far. The other question I've got is, why are Labour entrusting a project of this magnitude with a person like me? I mean, I've only got 1 year's worth of media experience, and surely the Labour Party would have known hundreds of cameramen and women that they could have called up. So the question here really is, why me? I mean, also, just because a job is perceived to be interesting or whatever, does that mean I shouldn't get paid for it? I mean, it's just really, really strange.
Any politician loves to go to a school in their constituency, particularly where... Should we start that bit again? All politicians like to visit schools in their constituencies, but for me, as Secretary of State for Education, seeing what's happening on the ground is extraordinary. It shows you what a Labour government is all about.
Tessa Giles, woman of the people. How proud is Labour of such an achievement to have the minimum wage since 1997?
Well, I'm incredibly proud to have been part of a government that brought forward the legislation to ensure the end of poverty pay and a national minimum wage.
We were out and around
But you were filming for the Labour Party?
Yeah, and what we did was we actually made